It was a scary scene on Thursday Night Football. It seems that Tua Tagovailoa suffered another concussion, adding on to the long list now of head injuries in his career. Hi everyone, this is Spectator Sports. I'm your host Sebastian Fonseca, here to break down Thursday night's action between the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. Before we get into it, please do us a massive favor, drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's get into talking about this game. This was an ugly night for the Miami Dolphins. They come into this matchup against the Buffalo Bills. They're kind of rival in the last few years, but it's been a one-sided rivalry, and they're trying to change the whole identity coming into this year. But yet again, they fall short, and this time it's even more devastating with Tua's injury. Late in the fourth quarter, when the Dolphins are already trailing by 3 touchdowns and Tua's just trying to make a play, he's scrambling up the middle and he's got the first down, but instead of sliding, he kind of dives forward head first, and ironically it's into the chest of Damar Hamlin. Now thankfully Damar, as we know with his history, he was okay, but unfortunately for Tua, it seems that he suffered a concussion on Thursday Night Football. Now in 2022, he suffered 3 head injuries, only 2 diagnosed concussions that we know of, but pretty clear in the Week 2 matchup against the Buffalo Bills then that he suffered what seemed to be a concussion. He took a hit and got a little wobbly, still stayed in the game when probably he shouldn't have. And then fast forward a few days later against the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday Night Football, his head was slammed into the turf and he went into the now famous fencing response, and that's just a sign of a traumatic head injury. He missed a couple of games, came back, had a good stretch, but yet again on Christmas Day against the Green Bay Packers, he suffered yet another concussion, ended his season prematurely. He missed a couple of games and the postseason game against the Buffalo Bills, and turns out now after a full season of play with a healthy Tua Tagovailoa in 2023, he comes into this year and suffers another concussion. This is taking out entirely the football concept, just addressing Tua as the person. You got to think about family. You have a wife and a couple of kids, and you've made a lot of money, and knowing the history behind head injuries, that players just keep playing, and a lot of these players we've seen are just trying to make extra money. They're trying to make money to take care of their family. I think he's done more than enough in taking care of his family financially, and nobody would blame him if he would like to step away from the game, however long it may be. It's going to take a village. The Miami Dolphins have to see exactly what's Tua's best interest. The doctors have to see if this is a smart decision for Tua to step on an NFL field in the future. I know Tua, as a gamer, a competitor, would absolutely think, I'm just going to take my time in concussion protocol, but I'll be back whenever I'm cleared. That's fine. But now this is potentially your 4th real concussion in the last 3 years. Football is a very high, violent, traumatic sport, especially to the head, and there's a history here, and maybe the effects don't show up now, but we've seen now on national television 2 fencing responses to some very violent hits, and these repercussions or the consequences, the later effects aren't going to show up maybe several years down the road. And there's unfortunately no way to really determine about CTE or anything until unfortunately the patient is dead and you can open it up and see exactly what went on in that person's brain structure. But it's something where he still has a very good quality of life. He's thankfully able to walk off the field after suffering this hit. He was a little wobbly, but never seemed to really lose consciousness, and just hung back in the locker room. He was able to walk all the way to the locker room and didn't even need to go to the hospital. He's just gonna be on bed rest. He's gonna take it easy for a few days. That's fine, but that could be your life, if you just hang it up. I wouldn't blame Tua for retiring or like I said, just maybe even taking a small step backwards, just icing it out and reevaluating maybe at a later date. But I think health comes first in this situation and not football. And at the end of the day, we just hope that Tua has a speedy recovery, and we will respect whatever decision he makes between him and his family. Getting into the football side of this, the Bills extend their dominance over the Miami Dolphins. This has been a one-sided rivalry post-Brady. We've seen when Tom Brady left the AFC East to go south to play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this opened the door for the other teams to take the gauntlet of this division. The Bills have seized it. They've won this division now 4 consecutive years, and they already have the inside pole position just by getting this win in Miami early on. Because I think the Miami Dolphins were the Bills' biggest threat to winning this division, but now with this, coupled with the Tua injury, him potentially missing some time, the Bills have a really good shot of winning this division, and it's only week 2. They didn't need Josh Allen to ball out. They just played zone defense. I mean, they played airtight defense, and they're missing a ton of bodies too. And defensively coming into the season, I highlighted the fact that they had a lot of off-season departures and older players coming back, but no Tyron Johnson, and you're still without Matt Milano, but they still had some really good defense on these really talented receivers for Miami, and they clamped down when they needed to. The pass rush was able to hit Tua in the pocket early. He was really disrupted. The pick 6 in this matchup was really telltale, where Tua just didn't have any time to throw it, and he was trying to chuck it out of bounds but just didn't get enough underneath it, and it's taken back for a touchdown. And that was pretty much the game being put on ice, and that was probably the first quarter, or the first half rather. James Cook, I thought, was phenomenal in this game. This is the kind of breakout performance we were looking to see maybe last year, but it's better late than never, because the Bills, if they are going to be a little bit less Josh Allen centric, James Cook is the perfect solution to that. He was the bell cow in this explosive 3 touchdowns, both on the ground and through the air, a long 49-yard gallop to create some breathing room from the Miami Dolphins. And if he's able to do this on a consistent basis, this is exactly what they'll need to, one, save Josh Allen from taking some extra hits, establish a running game, but his ability to catch balls out of the backfield is instrumental for the Bills offense to be successful post Stephon Diggs, where it's a ragtag group of guys and they're just trying to determine who's going to be the guy that's hot today, and today it was James Cook. The next game it might be Shakir. The next game it could be Keon Coleman or Dalton Kincaid, who we don't know. But this Bills team is definitely far more resilient than I thought, and I thought up front Greg Rousseau got some good pressure early. Ed Oliver was in the backfield. He got a sack on Tua that ended a drive where they were going for it on 4th down. Von Miller seems to be back in action, already has 2 sacks on the year. And if this is the team that we're seeing sort of take some shape, it's still very early on. We're 2 weeks into 2024. I have to probably reverse course with how the Bills, I picked them to miss the postseason, but due to the circumstances, and then just giving them credit, they played great through 2 games, 2 pretty quality opponents, and they have exceeded expectations already this year.